Yep, totally agree. And I guess that we can kind of segue that into our only bit of real news for the last week, which is iPhone related. Not the iPhone SE, but the total end of this other end of the spectrum, the iPhone 14. We got some news that apparently they're removing the SIM tray and it's only going to be eSIM, which we have eSIM and physical SIM in the current iPhones. This would be removing that and presumably just have two eSIMs. Now, this kind of, at least in the background, I didn't look too deeply into it because it's like it's pretty basic information, but it seemed like this kind of brought up a lot of conversation. Was it just because it was like the only news, or am I missing something here? Is this a bigger deal than I'm
Well,
not?
I
Yeah.
very interesting. On one hand, yeah, there has been no news, so I feel like everybody was like chomping at the bits for like any little bit of Apple news, so at least we got something. But also, it's interesting because this really shows even, I mean, we've seen this all the time, but even a big divide over the different iPhone users around the world, because eSIM might be much more prevalent here in the US where it isn't internationally, or vice versa. I feel like everybody has a different opinion on this. And I feel like I've seen most people who are either one way or the other. I haven't seen too many people caught in the middle because you either want that flexibility of the physical slim SIM card slot where you can pop it out and pop in a new SIM, especially if you're doing a lot of international travel. That seems to be the big move. And especially, I know for a lot of people who live sort of in European countries, if they're going between different destinations or they're trying to jump between carriers, just popping out a SIM and popping in a new one is really easy. Not so easy with eSIM. But on the other hand, a lot of people are saying, look, I never switch carriers. I'm not much of a traveler. This doesn't matter at all to me. Not having to deal with the SIM slot might be better. I don't know. For me, I'm more against this than I am for this because I like the convenience, though I understand why Apple would do this. What are your thoughts, Matt? How sad would you be if the SIM slot was no more on the iPhone 14?
I mean, I don't think sad is the right word, but I can definitely see it being a little bit of an inconvenience. So right now I've got the iPhone 13 Pro here, and I've also got the Mini here, and I switch between these phones, I wouldn't say regularly, but it definitely happens. And it's so easy to just pull out the SIM card, pop it in the Mini, and vice versa. So, I mean, not being able to do that, or I guess it would be more difficult to do that because then I would have to go to the carrier, I'd have to do the eSIM. Like, I'm sure it's still very possible, but it's not quite as easy. I mean, I guess what's the reason for it? Is it just to add a little bit more space? Because if there's no space for the SIM tray and the SIM card, then
Yeah,
I guess that's it.
I'm assuming it's like simplicity. I like the argument I saw was it's one less part Apple's got to manufacture, get a little bit more space back. Sort of, I'm sure there's like not having to support whatever SIM technology there is. Maybe this would help with theft too. I guess on one hand, I
Maybe.
see the benefit, but for me, like you said, I love the flexibility of being able to pop out the SIM and pop in my new one, especially like if you're on a family plan or if you're on a corporate plan where you don't have that information readily available. It's super nice when you get a phone that's unlocked, just pop out the old SIM, pop in the new one, you're good to go. You don't have to go through the carrier, you don't have to get the billing information. That was always one of the issues I had, especially sort of growing up when you have a SIM card that's active, but you get a new phone and it's sort of already set up with that. In some cases, I guess these days it's eSIM, but in the past it was SIM, and you need to have all this information. And just the flexibility of the physical SIM slot is nice. And I guess, like you said, it would make sense to see it go. I guess it'd be a little bit more simple. But I hope it sticks around. I don't know. I like that flexibility. I like being able to pop the SIM out and switch phones super easily. And eSIM, when it works, in my experience, which has been very limited, it seems to work pretty well. But also at the same time, it's just a lot more complex. And I feel like any excuse to not have to use the carrier or go through the carrier would be nice, the better. And that just, sort of ties you into the carrier a little bit more. So I feel like it's a little bit more annoying than anything. But
Hey,
I
who
guess
knows? What if this is the start of the grand plan? Remember we talked a few weeks ago about them creating their own MVMO? Is that what it's called? MVMO?
NVMe, NVMe, whatever it is. Yeah,
Whatever it is.
Mobile,
Their own piggyback.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Their own piggyback on T-Mobile, most likely. Hey, they could do that. If they did eSIM and then they're like, we also offer our own service and you get the eSIM and it's all easy to do and everything, I'd be down for that. I'd try it
Well, I
out.
guess the other question too is, do all carriers support eSIM or is it only the
No.
major ones? Because I know that.
So
Go ahead.
I'm looking at here on Mac Rumors, and they say there's about 100 carriers around the world that support eSIM, and there's supposed to be more rolling out in 2022. So I think it's mainly the main ones. Like here in the U.S., they all offer it. And the UK, like Vodafone, or let me see. I 3 in the UK, Vodafone in New Zealand. Like, it seems like there's at least one option in most, pretty developed areas. I wouldn't also be surprised if they do go and do this, that they make 2 models. Like, for the more developing areas, they have the
Right.
regular SIM model, or even like China. I could definitely see that happening. I don't know. I agree, though. Now that we're talking about it for so long, there's nothing else to talk about. Kind of
Exactly.
story.
It just is like, oh, little Apple news. Let's get excited. So
Hey, you made it to the end of this Apple Circle podcast clip, but there is a full episode. So if you want to listen to that, click the video over here. You can watch the entire thing. Or if you're someone who just wants to listen in your headphones, we have the audio version, of course. Links for that, where you can subscribe and listen in your favorite audio podcast player, is down below. And last but not least, the Apple Circle channel, where we have many videos covering everything Apple, is also linked down below. So be sure to check that out and get subscribed.